What's going on, everybody? Joel here from TheTokenMinorities, and I am here with MPL Season 3 Week 8 against AuraBomb. Now, this man is pretty darn good at the game. He is 5-2 right now, I believe, in the league, which is second place currently, although I personally hold him in regard as being the strongest battler in the league. So it's going to be a pretty fun match, most definitely, but I will go ahead and say now that this video will be relatively quick, I think, in terms of the team builder and such. This week is nuts, let me tell you, because we have tournament prep going on for Summer Showdown, which definitely be looking forward to that. That will be coming to you this Saturday, and I believe live streamed on Danza Crobat for the Wins Twitch. Definitely be looking forward to that. We hope to see you there and observe some of the best battlers in draft format duking it out in an all-day tournament. So that'll be pretty fun, most definitely. But you know, that's kind of my priority right now. Definitely trying to keep that organized, as we now have 96 competitors plus several alternates that are dealing with that tournament, so it's a pretty big deal, and it's been pretty fun to be organizing that over the past few days. But the downside to that is that kind of takes away from my prep time for both leagues. This is not just the Major Pokemon League, also the NPL has a little bit of reduced prep time this week. So I guess we'll kind of see how that goes in terms of the games. I would like to have had more time, but you know, I've got to set my priorities somewhere, and I feel like it's most important for me to organize the tournament instead of spending all this time on teams, on team building for my leagues and stuff like that. I can pick that back up once this tournament passes, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and jump in very briefly into a team overview. He has Lando T, Togekiss, Lucario, Mega Medicham, Heatran, Lantern, Slowking, Toxic, Croak, Tyranitar, and Frostlass. So he has some things that are kind of tough for my team to deal with. This physical pressure that he exerts with Lando T, Mega Medicham, and Tyranitar is really, really tough for me. I could run the likes of several defensive walls, which is something I definitely considered, most definitely. But it's just not smart to do that, because if I run a bunch of physical walls, he can essentially eat me alive with the likes of his Togekiss or potentially his Specs Lucario, Heatran as well. He has this really awkward combination for me. It's really good for him, but his offensive pressure is very, very solid on his team. So building for it was definitely pretty difficult to say the least, especially on limited times. So you know, I did the best I could given that, but he has a lot of big threats, the Mega Medicham especially. Even though I have now Wobbuffet on my team, I have Sableye as well. It's not a guaranteed stop to it, because it hits that hard, and he has so many things on his team that really pressure Sableye and Wobbuffet. So it's tough. It's a tough matchup overall. I think it's not in my favor, but you know, I think I can build around the matchup. That's the nice thing about draft format. You usually can do that. So that's obviously going to be my goal here. So the downside, I guess, one other downside, I guess, to this matchup is he has the T-Tar, which is a direct counter to Rain. Not that Sand is good against Rain, but Sand does stop Rain. So I can't just run a full-on Rain team, which otherwise would be really, really good against him. So that's kind of dumb, and unfortunate, not really dumb, it's just good on his part. But that's just something that definitely is a little bit more of a stumbling block for me this week in terms of my building. But let's just hop into the team real quick. I am bringing Mega Swampert, Sableye, Thunders, T, Mince, Sylveon, and Scizor. The Swampert is fully defensive, but Rain Dance with rocks, basically late game, I think this thing still cleans up pretty well against his team, just because he has a lot of physical threats. He can't really take this out with very many things. He doesn't have a grass type on his team, so really Swampert should be able to eat up any one hit, hopefully two, from any of his mons, and do a good amount of damage with Earthquake and with Waterfall. Next up is the Sableye. This is again, fully defensive set. I'm still kind of running these defensive walls, but you know, I would have much preferred to run this as a mixed wall so that I could switch into the likes of Slowking a little better, switch into Heatran a little better, stuff like that. But I am forced to run Max Fizdef because of Lando T, because of potentially SD Lucario, because of, most importantly, Mega Medicham. So kind of a threat, most definitely. I do need Calm Mind on this so that I can beat both, or not necessarily beat, but at least do some solid damage to the likes of both forms of Lucario, so special or physical, and Calm Mind is also nice so that I don't just straight up lose to the Heatran, or potentially a non-Dazzling Gleam Togekiss. Wisp, for obvious reasons, he has a lot of physical attackers, and Recover for recovery. So then we have the Thunderous. This is very, very important in the matchup this week because it is my counter to Togekiss, and essentially, as long as Togekiss is around, I need this to be around because it is going to be my free switch into it every time, and once I get this switch in, my coverage hits the rest of his team so hard. He has like nothing outside of Lantern to really be able to switch into this. But the thing is, if he brings Lantern, I'm going to take advantage of that big time with this team, as if I U-turn on Lantern, that gives me a free switch into my wall breakers, and I'm getting to those here pretty soon in Mince and Sylveon. But if he brings Lantern, I am taking advantage of that big time with this build, and I'll be U-turning on the Lantern and doing a ton of damage to his team with my wall breakers. So that is the #1 game plan. Hopefully he brings Lantern so that actually works out as I would like it to. But this set with the Assault Vest is able to actually survive a Scarfed Fire Blast, or 2 Scarfed Fire Blasts from a Heatran, and as well as essentially entirely counter a Togekiss. So that's pretty good, and the coverage hits his whole team really hard, so that's awesome. Now, next up is the Mince. This is a wall breaker set. As you can see, there is enough attack investment on this to be guaranteed to OHKO a standard bulky Togekiss, so not like a full max defensive Togekiss, but one that has like max HP and a little bit of defense, the one on the Smoke on damage calc, with Iron Tail. So this can OHKO a Togekiss after Stealth Rocks with Iron Tail, and then Draco Meteor to hit essentially all of his stuff really hard as well outside of the Togekiss and the Heatran, and of course I have the Earthquake for the Heatran. Now, I'm running Protect on this so that I can not be taking damage from a Fake Out from the Mega Medicham. I want to make him outspeed me. I think he's going to be Adamant if he brings it. He might bring Jolly, but I think Adamant makes more sense so that he can do more damage to my Swampert, do more damage to my Sylveon, for example. So that is that. Next up is the Sylveon. This is another wall breaker. It is essentially max special attack with a quiet nature, so plus special attack, minus speed with quick attack, and then a bunch of extra bulk in defense so that I can take his physical hits a little better and potentially lure in that Lucario with the Berry. It's Iron Tail still does a lot to me, I'm not going to deny that, but if I'm at high enough health, I should be able to survive the Iron Tail and kill it really with the combination of Hyper Voice plus Quick Attack, because he's not going to see Quick Attack coming. I know that for a fact. And Hidden Power Ground is there to couple that lure also for Heatran, as Flash Cannon from Heatran will not do very much to me at all with the Berry, and I can do a ton to it with Hidden Power Ground, and I think the rest of my team can really weaken Heatran pretty well, as Heatran's a pretty common switch and do a lot of these mons. So that's pretty good. Calm Mind, again, kind of helps against the Heatran, also kind of helps against the Togekiss, potentially. Maybe not so much the Togekiss, but it's also pretty good for the Lucario if it's like a specially attacking variant. It's also pretty decent for the Slowking as well. So that is the second wall breaker, and then I have kind of the really gimmicky set this week. That is a Scizor with Red Card, Knock Off, Bullet Punch, Defog, and U-turn. Defog for obvious reasons. I want to keep the rocks off the field for Thundurus and for Salamence. Knock Off to basically get rid of his resist berries if he has any, to free up the sweeping potential for my Mince and my Thundurus, and then Bullet Punch to hit this Fairy and his T-Tar, stuff like that, and U-turn, as well as 228 EVs and speed to always outspeed an Adamant T-Tar and do a ton of damage to it with U-turn, as well as just maintain momentum in general, hit the Slowking a little harder, and etc. So that's the team we're bringing this week. Let's go ahead and hop on over to the battle, and we will see what happened. Okay. And here we are with the match, and as you can see at Team Preview, he brought Lucario, Lando T, Togekiss, Mega Medi, Slowking, and the Heatran. So he brought essentially everything I didn't want to see, except he did not bring the T-Tar, which I thought was very strange, to say the least, as T-Tar would have been a nice, easy way to neuter my rain strategy. And, you know, when I see this composition of Mons, I'm really upset that I didn't bring Armaldo, because Armaldo had a fantastic matchup if he did not bring T-Tar to stop my rain. So that was something I thought was very interesting on his team preparation. But otherwise, his priority spam is also very, very annoying just in general for rain, having to Fake Out, plus potentially Bullet Punch on Mega Medicham. Unlikely to have Bullet Punch, I think, against me, but the Lucario especially with priority Extreme Speed, Bullet Punch, etc. Even Vacuum Wave, I guess, to an extent, but, you know, the priority is pretty annoying for rain, most definitely. Togekiss can also take a hit from essentially any of my rain sweepers outside of, like an Adamant Stone Edge from Armaldo. Didn't bring it, unfortunately. I wish I did. But, yeah, his team is kind of annoying. I think he probably has the defensive Slowking to help him take hits from Swampert better, as he really doesn't have a great Swampert switch in and the rain outside of that. So unless he's like a fully defense Togekiss, maybe that could be a decent option, but I think you'd want max defense Slowking against the likes of a Mega Swampert, especially if I were offensive. But, you know, we'll kind of see what happens on that. But in terms of the lead matchup, I do think that Mega Swampert is my best lead, as I do have a decent matchup against the entire team, and it essentially, at worst, forces him, or at best, I guess, forces him to switch into a Slowking, which is free rocks for me, which is going to be very, very important in this match, because I do need the rocks up in order to be able to KO the Togekiss with an Iron Tail. So that is that. Let's go ahead and hop right on in to the battle, and we'll see what actually happens here, as my opponent will indeed decide to lead with his Heatran, actually, which is pretty cool. There's still a chance that he could actually run Hidden Power Grass on it, but I did the calc, and I did realize that I actually could survive even a modest Hidden Power Grass, especially seeing that he has this Air Balloon Cough Togavor. Yeah, so I should be able to take the HP Grass if he wants to go for that immediately. My best play is just to go for the Waterfall, I think, here, because I think he's going to go for Stealth Rocks unless he is a Stealth Rock Lando, and if he's a Stealth Rock Lando, I think he's less threatening to my team anyways, so I think it was just best to go ahead and go for the Waterfall here and get that damage off on this Heatran, as it does about 75%. He gets his rocks up, no big deal. I do expect him to switch into his Slowking here, so I am going to go ahead and go for my own Stealth Rocks. I thought it was pretty safe here. I didn't think he'd try to stay in and go for the Hidden Power Grass whenever he most certainly would want to keep the Heatran around for the potential Wish Passing Sylveon. So here he goes into this thing, and here I make somewhat of a questionable play, I guess. I thought I'd be able to take this Scald a lot better than I did with this Sableye, but as you can see, this Scald is actually going to do like 50%, so I think this might be a max special attack Assault Vest, probably Assault Vest Slowking, because that, you know, that did a ton, and he gets the burn, which is kind of annoying, but it is Scald, it is what it does, so he doesn't get the burn and about 50% off on Sableye, so that was probably a misplay on my part. I should have probably gone straight into my Sylveon instead, but, you know, it's hindsight is 2020. I thought I would have taken the hit better than that. I thought it wasn't a 2-hit KO, but it is. So we're going to go into Sylveon now as he goes for Scald. So, you know, I just let my Sableye get weakened for no reason. That was really dumb of me, but I'm going to go into my Sylveon and eat that up, and now I'm just going to go for the Calm Mind, as I think he's going to be fearing the Spec Shadow Ball, as the damage roll there would have indicated that was offensive. So he is going to go straight into his Heatran, which is perfect for me, actually, because I go for the Calm Mind, and I have that Berry, so I don't really care if he goes for the Flash Cannon, especially at +1. I'll take like no damage from it at all. And as you'll see here, he actually is going to go for the Taunt, so that's fine, not a big deal whatsoever, as I do just reveal the Hidden Power Ground on this turn. I'm able to take out the Heatran and get us off to a nice 6-5 advantage, but with Sableye weakened in the back, it's actually pretty bad. I don't feel like I'm in a great position, and as a result, I feel like I need to start making plays here pretty soon if I'm going to be able to come out on top of this game, just because his team is so offensive. It puts up so much pressure against my team, but here is a huge play in the game. If he is a Jolly Lucario, which I expected him to be, I expect him to be Jolly in order to outpace a Adamant Salamence, then I have a 50% chance of living this hit. Sylveon was not doing much else this game. He didn't bring the Lantern, so I wasn't going to be able to switch in on anything else. So I decided to stay and take the risk of the roll, assuming he was Jolly, and it turns out he's actually Adamant and gets the guaranteed KO there with Iron Tail. So, but Berry didn't really work out as expected, but I traded Sylveon for Heatran, which is okay overall in my opinion. So now I'm going to scare him out with my Salamence, and here I kind of wish I had Roost, honestly, but I do just decide to go straight for the Earthquake as much as I wanted to click Iron Tail. I was so close to clicking Iron Tail, but then I kind of thought again, I'm like, you know, I could actually lose to this Lucario if he predicts me to do that, and he just goes for his Swords Dance, but in hindsight, I probably should have just gone for the Iron Tail. It would have made my job a lot easier, honestly, but, you know, hindsight is 2020. So, I'm going to go straight into my Thundurus, my dedicated switch into this thing, as he actually pulls a double into his Slowking, which I thought was kind of interesting. I was kind of thinking over that play for a while. I'm like, what was he predicting? I'm not really sure. Maybe he was predicting me to be a Spadef Mega Swampert or something, and this thing has Grass Knot. I don't know, but I'm just going to go ahead and go for the Thunderbolt. Do a ton of damage. Looks like a 2-hit KO from this range, and I know I can eat up the Ice Beam because of my Assault Vest, and it shouldn't do more than like about 30%, and then he gets the Freeze. So this is bad. This is really bad. This was my switch into Togekiss, and as you'll see here in a little bit, I am going to have many opportunities to get the rocks off the field, because he actually will sack his Slowking here in future turns, like very near turns. So if I got rocks off the field, this thing had free reign over a lot of his team, and I would be able to put in so much work against this team whittle him down to the point where he'd be in range of things like my Scissors Bullet Punch, be in range of things like my Mega Swampert, its singular attacks without the rain up. It really, really hindered me to be frozen on that turn. I will elaborate more on that, I think, later on at the end of the game, but I do expecting him to go for either a U-turn or a knockoff. I go into my Mega Swampert here as he goes for knockoff, and that was pretty fine, and I am just going to be able to go straight for a double switch into my Scizor, knowing that I'm very much so on my back foot right now, and this is my opportunity to go ahead and click U-turn. And the thing is, if my Thundurus were not frozen, I probably could have gone for Defog here. And, you know, he might be Fire Blast, that's fine. I probably still would have gone for U-turn here, honestly, but I would have gone for a Defog later on after I knew it was safer. But, you know, regardless, I am able to take out the Slowking here with the U-turn, meaning that if rocks were off the field, then my Thundurus, if it were not frozen, would be absolutely fantastic. So, that's a thing. And now, let's see, I U-turn into my Pert as he goes into his Medi. I don't really have a great answer to this, especially with my Sableye being so weakened, but I'm pretty sure he's either going to go for the high jump kick or the fake out, so I'm going to go into my Sableye. I'm already seriously weakened, so it's not like I'm much of a counter to this thing anymore anyways, but he does just go for the fake out, forgets to Mega Evolve, not a big deal, it hurts him more than it hurts me, but I am going to take this as an opportunity to go straight for the Willow, as if I went for the recover, I'm really losing a really nice opportunity here, as he has nothing that wants to take the burn, especially, he could go into Togekiss, which doesn't receive the attack decrease, technically, but getting the residual damage on Togekiss is really, really nice, especially considering I need it to be at a certain range in order to be able to take it out with Scizor or with Salamence. So he switches this thing in, it gets burned. Luckily I don't miss, thank God. And now I basically am left with a couple choices. I could pull the switch straight out into my Scizor, which is something I was strongly considering, but I think he's going to Roost here. So I think my play is to try to heal this thing up, and that's what I do. I go for the recover, and I think he knows he needs this thing at higher health to be able to switch into Salamence, so he does go for Roost. So I got that right, which is pretty nice. And he's going to be essentially at, like, what, 88% health after the burn damage, so that's fine. I did get my Sableye back up to a decent amount of HP, but now I essentially need to see if he has the Dazzling Gleam. I have no idea if he has Dazzling Gleam, but if he does have Dazzle, then I can't really do anything with the Sableye against this Togekiss, and I'm going to essentially scout for that by using my my useless Thundurus. So, man, I would have loved to be able to use that for offensive pressure instead of, you know, sack fodder, but whatever, it is what it is, I guess. But I do lose my Thundurus as he goes for Ancient Power. Luckily, does not get the boost. That would have just been icing on the cake, most definitely, but he does take me out with the Ancient Power, and now, because he didn't go for the Gleam, I'm assuming he doesn't have it. I have to assume he doesn't have it. I'm in such a terrible position at this point. I have to make this kind of play, and I'm going to go straight for the Calm Mind now, as if he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. Maybe I can just beat this thing 1v1 if he doesn't have Nasty Plot. So we're going for the Calm Mind, and I'm just like, okay, if you have Dazzling Gleam now, then you just tricked me real good, and I'm going to lose pretty badly. But he just goes for Ancient Power, so I don't think he has Dazzling Gleam, which is pretty good information to have. I think I can see a light at the end of the tunnel and might be able to pull out this this sweep, honestly, with the Sableye, if not just severely neuter his team, as I could maybe win this 1v1 and burn something as it comes in. So Sableye is looking really, really nice at this point, and here my play is pretty obviously just to go for the recover, just because it will allow me to get that health back, as he apparently doesn't have Gleam. I don't really think he has anything to beat this, unless he has Nasty Plot. If he has Nasty Plot, then okay, that's a little bit different, and he does have Nasty Plots. So, unfortunately, Sableye is utterly useless, and that's pretty bad. It's good to switch into Medicham, but that's like all it does. It's good to switch into Medicham, and it's good to spam Wisp, but, you know, I struggled so hard with the Sableye set during my prep, and like I couldn't really come up with a set that didn't just lose me momentum. This was the best set I could come up with, as I knew I needed Sableye in order to beat the Mega Medi, but like this just isn't cutting it. So you know, it is what it is. It's really the best I feel like I could have done given my time, but you know, so he's just going to start going for Ancient Power again, so I'm kind of thinking this might be a mono Ancient Power Togekiss, probably with like T-Wave Roost, Nasty Plot, Ancient Power. It's possible. Maybe he didn't bring Air Slash. It seems kind of unlikely that he didn't bring Air Slash, but I don't know why he's not going for it. You know, it doesn't really make much sense to me outside of he's trying to get the boost in order to survive a Bullet Punch or an Iron Tail from my offensive threats. But eventually he finally goes for the Air Slash as I was just about to attack him. I was at the point of time where I was telling myself, okay, I need to attack this thing to make sure it remains in range of my Mints and in range of my Scizor, as after this burn damage is actually in range of both of them. So that's pretty good for sure. I kind of accomplished that. I would have liked to have kept my Sableye in that process, but you know, I guess it is what it is, and this is what we're going to have to work with. As I'm going to go into my Mints, I was so tempted to click Draco Meteor here, but you know, I went against my gut. I really went against my gut, and I probably shouldn't have, as this was such an obvious switch in here, as the way I switched in Mint so quickly in game time into the Togekiss, it was so obvious I had Iron Tail. So that was probably a play that I could have done better, most definitely, and that would have put me in a much better position overall. But here I'm basically forced to sack my Mints since I got that prediction incorrect to the knockoff. But now I know he's locked into knockoff, so this is really my last opening to have a chance of winning this game, and that's to go into my Pert and click a Rain Dance, as he does not have much for Rain, especially given the range of health his Togekiss is at, which he does go into his Togekiss here, probably as a sack, thinking he can maybe take the hit and even maybe roost it off if I'm fully defensive, but I do have Rain Dance, and now the pressure is back on my opponent, so now we have a chance to win this game. Let's see if we can pull it off. So I am going to set the Rain Dance, and after all these after turn effects, I will end up going for the Waterfall, and taking this Togekiss out for the first time this season. This is week 8, and this Togekiss has not died the entire season until now, so if we don't win this game, at least we pulled that one off. We could check that off our list. So down goes the Togekiss, and now he has his, what's he have? Lando T, he has Lucario, and he has Mega Medi left. He goes into Lucario. I thought that was kind of a weird play. Felt like a bait, really smelled like a bait, so I just went for the Waterfall. It killed anyways, and it was a bait. He tried to switch right out into his Landers to stall a turn of Rain. That's not going to fly for me, buddy. And down goes the Lando to the Waterfall, and now all he has left is the Lucario and the Mega Medi. I don't know if I can win this game, but at the very worst, very best, I can get it, no, at the very worst, I can get it down to a 1-0. And by doing that, I can do it because I do have the red card on my Scizor. So that prep, I think, did come in clutch in terms of differential this week at the very least. So here he goes into Medi. Fake out is so obvious. My only play is to go into my Scizor here. Let him fake out the Scizor. It'll bring him into his Lucario. And then I have to hope that I can actually survive the close combat. I don't know if it was a roll. I don't think it was a roll. I think I died anyway, but I had to try, you know, at this point. As he goes to the fake out here, and the game plan essentially is to let him switch himself into his Lucario, and then I go for the U-turn on the Lucario as it goes for the close combat, and I barely survive, hopefully. And then I go into my Swampert, I click Rain Dance, and I try to win that way. That was the way I was going to try to win. He just had too much priority, honestly. At the end of this game, he had far too much priority for me to be able to pull this off without the extra damage from my Thundurus. So it comes back to that, honestly. I think the first turn burn on the Sableye was also pretty bad as well. I will accept some responsibility for that. That was not the best play. I definitely could have gone into my Sylveon first. That would have been much smarter on my end. But the freeze was dumb. It was really, really dumb, because every time I got my Thundurus in against the Togekiss, which would have been frequently considering Togekiss was a switch into Salamence, and I believe also one of his better switch-ins to Swampert, so it would not have been hard to get my Thundurus in multiple times against the Togekiss, even though he had Ancient Power, because I was Assault Vest with extra Spit After Investment. So every time I got my Thundurus in against that, I would be able to click Thunderbolt, I'd be able to click Hidden Power Ice, or I'd be able to click Focus Blast. In this game, I probably would only end up clicking Thunderbolt or Hidden Power Ice, but that's extra damage on his Mons that I did not actually get in this game that would have put him in range of my other Mons this game. So it really made a difference, I believe. I think it would have come down to 1 or 2-0 regardless, perhaps in my favor if I had the Thundurus T. But, you know, it is what it is. This is the game we choose to play, and it seems like more often than not, it does not seem to play out fairly. But, you know, this is just a regular season game. It doesn't really matter that much in the long run. And quite honestly, if I didn't want to lose this game, I should have spent more time on my team. That's all there is to it. But, you know, I thought I almost pulled it out, considering the matchup, considering everything. This week, I almost pulled it out, which is pretty good. And I really didn't show my hand either, which is pretty nice, considering if I do encounter him in the championship of the Major Pokemon League, it's nice that I still have a lot of my best tricks under my belt for that. So, you know, we lose this game. It's fine. We are, let's see, I am 4-2 in the Major Pokemon League. And, you know, both of those losses have pretty legit reasons behind them, I think. So, you know, I think we're doing okay. You know, it's not my favorite team. I don't really like Rain in general as a strategy. I think it's good on the ladder. I don't really like it in draft format personally. And, yeah, as you can tell, I haven't brought Drizzlepal into it once. So I'm basically running a Rain team without the Rain. So that's, you know, kind of strange, most definitely. But I don't know. This match was kind of, eh. It was a good match, you know, outside of the freeze. It was a good match. He's a good player. I think we went back and forth a lot of cool predictions, but you know, it would have been nice to have a cleaner match for what this could have been. Like, this is one of the, I think one of the opponent I was most looking forward to, maybe besides Blake. Blake and Aura were the two opponents that I was really looking forward to playing here in the Major Pokemon League, and it's kind of dumb that this one came down to something like this, but, you know, that's, you know, it is what it is. So, I will see you all tomorrow in my upload for the National Pokeball League against Sebastian, Top Tier Boy, and then just as a heads up for next weekend, there will not be any draft uploads from me. Maybe drafting with the Elite. Maybe we're going to try to get back to that here soon, but in terms of league uploads, we will not have those next week because we have the tournament coming up here on August 13th, and we're going to be directing all of our attention to that. So both leagues are actually taking that week off in order to prepare for the tournament and to support their representatives in the tournament as well. So that's happening. There will not be uploads from me next weekend on that, but there probably will be some tournament uploads in terms of advertisements and such. So yeah, be looking forward to that. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.